My name is Balina. I'm a blockchain, I guess now the term is angel investor. I invest in startups, only in the blockchain space, specifically ICOs, initial coin offerings, right? Just to get a gauge of the room. Everybody here knows crypto, or is anybody here who's brand new to crypto? Everybody here owns crypto, a token, Bitcoin, a token or shitcoin? Anybody here who does not own a token or Bitcoin or anything? So this is a pretty advanced room. Okay. All right. Yeah, so that's what I do. I'm joined by my team in the back. My producer, Dan. He's the guy who makes me look like an all-star. Right? All the videos, it's him. Then we also have my business partners, Diego, Lara, and Ugo Unduguba. He's obviously not here. I still can't get it right. Ugo Unduguba. Ugo Chukwu Unduguba. All right, so he's American Nigerian. All right. They're my managing partners for 100x Advisors, which is our basically a company we formed to invest and advise ICOs. Right. As you guys know, being Americans is tough doing anything as Americans, so we had to do something outside of America, offshore. Right. But anyway, known of those guys for a while. Then also joined here by my friend Torsten. I had no idea he was coming, to be honest. He just came here and surprised us, right? Maybe you could give us a quick intro on yourself.
I've been in the space since May last year and did quite a deep dive and started advising companies early this year. Spent a lot of time in Asia, and then the market kind of kept collapsing, but now we're playing sidelines.
Now the thing I like about Torsten is he's really involved in, I guess, what's the term? Giving back, social good, right? He has a charity in Kenya, right? Even the blockchain company you were working with, Agora, is about really giving back. It's about bringing democracy. It's voting on a blockchain to the whole world, but also the developing world. Countries that have dictatorships or sometimes called democracies. I know me, for example, like, actually, I should probably not say this. So I'm going back. Right, so let's not get into politics. We'll skip that for now. Then we have Greg here.
Yeah,
right?
My name is Greg. I'm based here in the beautiful city. I got into this space like 3 years ago, but I became very active into it like a year ago. Then that's when I moved my entire business, what I was doing in marketing and advertising, into the blockchain space. So my whole thing is about Africa, how to get all these solutions that have been built to be implemented in Africa, and also spreading the word about crypto and blockchain to educate others. And yeah, just having a platform where others can get information or can get Bitcoin. So I used to be a hodler, like all the time.
What changed?
Until I got burned a lot, then I was like, I need to do something. So I got into trading, and I do OTC trades within Africa as well. Yeah.
One of the cool things of this world tour is we really get a chance to go on the ground and see how each country, each city embraces blockchain and crypto. So for us, for those who don't know, I'm American, but I was born in Uganda, right? So I'm Ugandan American, so I have two homes basically. And I went to Uganda for the first time in over 21 years. And it was my homecoming. It was so beautiful for me and very humbling, that because I left Uganda when I was 8 years old, and I came back when I was 30 years old, and I was like, so much has changed, but it was the first time in a long time I really felt at home. I had been traveling so many different places around the world, over 30 countries this year on our world tour, but it was the first time I really felt at home, and I forgot what that feeling felt like, because when you travel a lot, you feel like everywhere is home, right? Because everywhere you go, you have crypto family, and it's amazing, and even America's amazing. But it was the first time when I went to my uncle's place in his village, and I was there with him having the traditional Ugandan food, and speaking our language, and understanding everything, seeing my cousins, who I didn't even know I had, who was 16 years old, who were nephews, siblings, and I was like, wow, this is really home, and I've come so far, and I feel like there was any small slip up and I would not be where I was. I had so much opportunity that to a point, this is one of the reasons I love traveling, because when you travel, you meet so many different people, even traveling back to your home roots, to your parents' ancestry, where they live, where they grew up, right? So somebody was asking me in Kenya, hey Ian, how did you make it where you are so fast, right? Because he thought that I came from the village, and I had to quickly correct him that I didn't come from the village, I came from the capital, Kampala. But even that, coming to America was very tough. But what's even more impressive to me is my dad. My dad came from the village. Like the village where there's like no running water in some places. You're just there. And he came all the way from there to going to America and making over 6 figures. And people think what I've achieved is very impressive. But I think to me it was more about I was in the right place at the right time. Like timing mattered. The bull market mattered for sure, right? But not everybody has a bull market. And for me, what my dad and other people like him have achieved, to me, it's even more impressive than what I've achieved, right? To go from that to then living in Kampala to the UK to America, my dad had to be a really rare individual, right? And to him, the way out was education, right? Because I didn't really get it before. I thought I understood it. My parents were always very educational, always stressing education. My dad has a PhD. Both my parents are professors, right? So I came from a very strict family and upbringing, and they always grilled education. And to me, I was like, yeah, whatever, get good grades, go to school, get a good job. But after going back and seeing their roots, now I really understand it. Because if it wasn't for education, my dad would still be out there in the village, and my mom, right? Because with them, they had to basically, my dad was basically a valedictorian, being the top in his class from first grade all the way till college. Like every grade, he was the best in his class, basically 4.0 straight A's, right? And it seems hardcore, but when you realize what's at the line, the stakes at the line, then you also understand that you would also be hardcore, right? Because for him, the way out of the village was to go to Kampala, which is the capital, right? It's definitely not the first world, but it's more developed than the village. But the way there was education, right? So he had to basically get good grades, get a scholarship, and go to college. Once he finished his bachelor's, he had to get good grades there and get a scholarship to go to the UK. And once he did that, he got a scholarship to go to America for his PhD. And once he was in America, he found a job and stayed there, right? So education was the ticket. Sure, there were other opportunities like the lottery or whatever, but education was the most consistent way out, right? And to me, that's why now after having gone to my home in Uganda, I really have a newfound appreciation for education. Because you guys know me, I've been making content online for free because I want to educate people and I want to make it in depth, right? My motto has been making free content that's better than anyone's paid content. But now after coming from Uganda, I even have a deeper appreciation for that because I get it that not everyone has the resources to learn, right? But I want to make sure if you have that hunger, if you have that drive, if you're willing to put in that effort, those blood, sweat, and tears to come out from wherever you are, I want to make sure I give you that education, right? And I think traveling, making this world tour, right, really, and also having the team in the back there, documenting this on video to share this with the whole world, right, we can really help people learn, right? And for me, I feel blockchain is the future. Blockchain is the future. It's the biggest innovation since the internet itself. It's the next .com boom, right? And if this content we're making can help somebody out there in a village in Africa or India or anywhere in the world, right, who may say, you know what, this is a path I may dabble down. This is maybe I end up going towards this as an industry to work in, right? Maybe I don't have the resources, but they learn the token metrics, they learn all the information from our experts here and panelists here, and eventually can do something great for their community, their country, whatever they're doing, right? I think that's really what we're after now, right? So to me, this is a way to evangelize crypto, this world tour, and educate, right? More importantly, it's educating people, right? And I think it's not just about me educating, right? That's why I always like to have other people with other opinions, other voices to share different ways of viewing things from each country we go to, right? So it's a pleasure to have you guys here. Right? I think it's beautiful. I'll try to make this as much value as possible to everyone here. If you guys have any questions on anything, I want to make sure whatever reason you guys came here for, we achieve that, right? The only thing I can help you achieve is my Patreon. The Patreon is closed, unfortunately, because I do get that request a lot. But if you have any question on crypto or blockchain, hopefully we can get it answered by the time you leave here today. How does that sound? All right, thank you, Cape Town. Okay, so let's start with our local here, Greg.
Yeah.
So
It's great, by the way, sir.
Greg?
The color of your-
Oh, Gray. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Thank you. Okay, Gray.
Yeah.
Tell us about the local blockchain and crypto community and space here in Cape Town and South Africa.
All right, so Cape Town is more like the Silicon Valley of South Africa at the moment. There's a lot of tech activity, so you see that there is a lot of interest in the blockchain space at the technical level more. If you look at the companies that are trying to build things, and in Joburg, you see that it's more of the financial aspect of it. But
so here's the tech.
Here's the
This
tech.
is Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Joburg is like Wall Street.
Pretty much.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to Americanize him.
Exactly. So that's really what's happening. But the government here is pretty much transparent when it comes to what they think or where they stand about the entire cryptocurrency or the blockchain space. So I think it's doing well. It's doing best in Africa. And if you look at Google Trends, you'll be able to see that South Africa is still on top in the world. Yeah, when it comes to searching Bitcoin.
Hold on, I'm sorry. I have to stop you there. Hold
Yeah.
on. South Africa, Cape Town, is the top in the world for Bitcoin?
No, not Cape Town, but South Africa as a
Africa.
whole. It's still number one on the
Okay,
search.
now I have a question as somebody on the outside looking in, because this is a great crowd, right? Thank you guys for being here, right? But we had twice the attendance, probably 4 times the size in Nairobi, Kenya, and we had probably twice the size in Kampala, Uganda. So I have to, I guess, maybe challenge this. Just as so, is Cape Town the hub for blockchain in South Africa or Africa, or is it other parts in Africa?
You're right when you talk about the numbers in terms of appearance, but I think that also has to deal with the touch points on how the message was spread out. Yeah, so Cape Town is a very small community, and it's like those communities speak to each other. We have Facebook we have Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups and all those kind of things. So you just had to touch on the right people.
The right people.
Yeah, to get the message across. But really, there is enough activity here. A lot of events and meetups. We have like a crypto meetup pretty much.
So it's a big blockchain scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to interject, there's what's called Blockchain Entrepreneurship South Africa. It's basically a community. I think they have about 120 members or so. So I don't think that maybe might not have been aware about the event.
Okay.
So I think like maybe the advertising and all the stuff might actually.
I mean, because based on our numbers, we already know Lagos is number 1. Because event hasn't even started, but we already have 200 people that have signed up for Lagos. Right? Right. Okay.
Yeah, but you see that we have infrastructure to work with whatever we need. We
Oh
have
yeah, absolutely.
companies that really are. We have Rehive is based here in South Africa.
Rehive, what is that?
Are a development company, so they actually
Blockchain development.
Blockchain development. We have Luno, one of the best exchanges in Africa that allows you to work with the fiat currency.
How do you spell that?
Luno, Luno.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's the main exchange here in South Africa?
Yeah, but not the only one. So for you, from fiat to Bitcoin here, no problems at all. It's like, that's how we live, it's no problems. There's no challenge. Whereas if you go outside South Africa, you see that there's so many challenges.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the banks are pretty not accepting. The Reserve Bank, they're pretty accepting. They just...
Okay, I have a question on that one.
Yeah.
Right, so we just came from Uganda, right? And even me, I'm Ugandan, but I was surprised that out of all the countries in Africa, Binance chose Uganda first for the crypto to fiat exchange. I mean, what do you guys think about that? I mean, because Binance, the exchange, chose Uganda for their first crypto to fiat exchange gateway. I mean, so we would think that South Africa or maybe Kenya would have been the first one, right? So why did CZ, the CEO of Binance, choose them over South Africa? Like, how's the blockchain space here? I guess how's regulation and all that stuff?
I don't have a good answer. That probably it's a political question, and I suck at politics.
I'm actually, I don't know, I'll expect Kenya to be the first and not South Africa.
Yeah.
South Africa wise, I think Luna is quite big in South Africa.
It's pretty big?
It's quite big.
It would take them a lot of
It
work
would take-
to overtake Luna. There is CoinDirect. It's a
For Binance, really?
Yeah, it would take them a lot of work to actually get into the South African core market.
Now, Luna, is that a fiat gateway?
Luna is a
Yeah.
fiat to be, so I can buy like.
You can buy Bitcoin
Yeah.
and altcoins as well, or
No,
No,
only Ethereum.
It's
Only Ethereum?
Bitcoin, yeah.
only Ethereum, Bitcoin? Okay.
Coinbase of
So Coinbase of South Africa.
We
Uh-huh.
have the guy who was heading the blockchain division for Rand Merchant Bank. He basically stepped away from them now, and he has signed up, I think, with Bittrex to open an exchange called VALR. Yes, yeah.
With Bittrex?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
So, and that's apparently quite a big thing. You know,
That-
they've got the whole referral
Bittrex is
thing
a
going.
very good credit exchange. Now, we know they definitely do have a good strategy for global expansion. They kind of have they let other exchanges locally private label their software, right? One of the good examples is, I believe, a bit in Korea, right? That's why every coin that gets onto a bit or Bittrex gets onto the other, right? Because they have the same platform,
Yeah.
right? So one of the good things of the World Tour, you really get to meet all the influencers, the who's who in each local place you go to, right? So one of the beauties of being in Uganda, we got to meet the guys who actually helped CZ bring Binance to Uganda, right? We met Kwame, who was one of the panelists on our.
I've met Kwame.
I met Kwame, awesome,
Yeah.
right? And I asked him candidly, like, how did Binance come to Uganda? And he told me that Binance sponsored the Africa Blockchain Conference, I believe, right? Which was in Uganda.
Yes, the president was there.
Then the president, Museveni, was there.
Yeah.
And CZ got a meeting with the president, right? And next thing you know, Binance is in Uganda, right? So that got me thinking. I mean, because they told me that the president is very, very bullish on blockchain and crypto, right?
Right.
So it seems that he really made it easy and took out all the roadblocks for bringing Binance to Uganda. Now, my question is, I guess, what if all the other countries in Africa did something similar, right? Where you could get like the person who calls the shots, like the president, to meet with other people in blockchain trying to build amazing technology and bring stuff to Africa, right? I guess, what do you think that would do to Africa, South Africa? I mean, even the whole world in general, right? Because I know it's tough in America for Binance CEO or any CEO on blockchain to meet with the president of America, right? Trump probably would not get them the day. Trump is busy doing other stuff, right? Probably posting Twitter trolls, right? But it got me really thinking about, I mean, it really could be a political move, right? Like if we could get the people building amazing stuff in blockchain to talk to the people who can make stuff actually happen, almost anything can happen and happen a lot faster. I guess what do you have to comment on that, Torsten? Or
it's an interesting one. It's like the other side of the coin of having a democracy, an African democracy, where things can be pushed through and implemented very fast if the right person wants it. Don't quote me on this, it might be not politically correct, but and another insight from the Ugandan story is that the President Museveni, right? Mugabe? No, Museveni.
Yoweri Museveni, yeah.
He's looking for a nice exit strategy. And what better way to leave a country than being the hero of democratizing and decentralizing the government. But yeah, that's an interesting story. So you just need to find maybe candidates that kind of looking the same way out. Yeah, Kenya, they stepped against crypto quite a bit. They shut down BitPesa, which was the
What's
first.
BitPesa?
It was the first crypto exchange in East Africa.
Oh, really?
They're still operating in Uganda and Tanzania and some other countries now. But,
interesting, because when we were there, we met a new exchange called CoinPesa.
There's new exchanges now popping out. It seems like they changed regulations or something.
So they aren't so friendly.
Or they shook the right hands and things are moving again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems like doing business is more about shaking the right hands,
Yeah.
as you mentioned, right? So I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's probably a need to maybe put it out there, but usually when you're dealing with anything crypto, things Bitcoin related, blockchain, there's a difference between how much people actually know about it versus, then like obviously people have to know about it before it gets into adoption and stuff like that. So for instance, I'm from Zimbabwe, and before they knew, at least I assume they knew very little about it. It was already outright, no, this is bad, type of thing.
Yeah.
So with the whole clearing out a way for it to make mainstream, for it to become something more, available, ubiquitous, it needs to be something that, people sort of understand. So most of the work that's done by people is either in the background, like sort of like if you think of web pages or whatever, it's like a back-end thing, right? Versus what the user sees. So most people, maybe if you use Luno, you don't get to you don't have to understand every little detail about the blockchain or Bitcoin or any of that, but you're able to interact with it. But
So it's very simple to use.
yeah, it needs to be like accessible. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Accessible. So sometimes with the governments and politics and stuff, it's a little inaccessible at the moment.
To add to what he says, I was in Kenya and Malawi 3 months ago. So I was trying to make some people I was working with to kind of get an exchange within some parts of Africa. So we're looking at the right volumes and numbers. So I went to Malawi to kind of lobby into the idea of blockchain and stuff. So I met a few key members of parliament, but the problem was these guys have no idea what this whole thing is. The last time they did anything to do with regulation, they were regulating some digital payments, kind of USSD-based digital payments like M-Pesa that are all over Africa. So they say, we don't really know, but some of them are like, oh, I've heard this before. Then aren't people losing money in Bitcoin? So that's their attitude about it. But I thought if you had to host all these big events that have been hosted in Europe and South America that the community is spending a lot of money on, if they had to come in one little country in Africa, bring all the people in there, make it a huge thing, you're more likely to invite the president and get him to come through, and then you can lobby your way in.
I agree, right? So for me, when we heard that story about how CZ got into Uganda, and it was via the conference and then via meeting the president, it got us thinking, like, we should do more lobbying. Maybe we should be politicians, right? I mean, to a point that now, I'm actually going to be saying this for the first time. I plan to go to the Africa Blockchain Conference next year.
Yeah.
Right? And really tell everybody I know about it and invite them as well. Because, I mean, if you can get stuff done like that from just one conference, I mean, because we've been everywhere in the world, right? All different kinds of continents, right? But I don't think we've been anywhere where a president of a country has been there, right? And if we have people like that coming to conferences, and then willing to take action after that conference and make stuff happen, then we definitely want to be there, right? You had a statement, a question?
Yeah. So in Cape Town, there's a company called Blockmesh. They've got a token BMH, and they actually approached the president of South Africa's son, and Tumelo Ramaphosa, and he's very bullish on blockchain and on Bitcoin, and he's got his own coin called Stud, and he actually signed up as their strategic growth advisor. So, but yet that was a few months back, and we haven't really seen a major shift in. But the fact that the president's son is very much on board.
President of South Africa.
The president of South Africa. Yes.
Okay.
Is on board. So there are people in this space reaching out.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I'm trying to say is, I think there are a lot more presidents in Africa that are reaching out, right? Because speaking of that, do you guys know Rand Mueller?
Yeah.
From Crypto Trader CNBC?
South African.
Yeah, South African, right? He's also here in Cape Town, I believe, right?
Joburg.
Oh, really? Okay. So I know a while back, during our Asia Crypto World Tour, he was inviting me to South Africa, right? And he said the president of South Africa was going to a blockchain conference here as well, right? But I was like, I mean, thanks for the invite, but we're currently in Asia on our Crypto Asia World Tour. I'll be in Africa in December, But it got me thinking. I mean, since the presidents here are more reachable than anywhere else,
Yeah.
right? Which really makes this even more attractive to people in the space. I mean, because maybe the next wave starts in Africa,
It's
right?
definitely right and ready. I mean, Africa is like virgin territory for those kind of solutions, and it's going to leapfrog the rest of the world. The global markets are relatively mature, so growth isn't really. You've got 1 billion consumers in Africa, and they're just hungry and want to make stuff happen, and so
Absolutely.
they're ripe and ready for it. And then fiat's also a bit of a disaster in most countries across Africa.
Yeah.
So, regulation associated with moving money around is hectic. So it's it's really ripe and ready for blockchain, smart contracts, digital currencies to be able to acquire around. Like our business is a payment gateway, and we focus on Africa. And the value proposition is because it's impossible to get paid as Amazon, Microsoft, Uber, and Airbnb across Africa because they're diverse, difficult payment methods. There's hardly any cards. So the opportunity is really for digital currencies to be able to, and also for people to participate in the internet as connectivity increases. There's lots of guys with smartphones. The smartphone penetration is growing at a rapid rate. So everybody can participate in the global economy, which they never really had that opportunity 3 or 4 years ago. So if you combine that connectivity with the possibilities associated with blockchain and digital currencies, you just got really something awesome that can happen here.
I have to agree fully with that.
And to add to what he says, Tumelo was here. I was with him. We had dinner 2 days ago because there was a blockchain summit that happened. But obviously, it wasn't well marketed, so it's pretty small. But it was great. So I told him that you guys were coming in, but I was like, we're leaving on Sunday, and these guys are coming on Monday. But there's a lot of activity happening. Guys building their own stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think after our world tour here in Africa, we're definitely going to be evangelizing the space even more.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, and try to help out as much as possible because we feel like, I mean, just the opportunity here is huge. Like, as you said, right? It's so huge here. All right. I mean, we met a different exchange that Ugo's working with. What's it called? The exchange? Kubitex. Have you guys heard of that one? They're based in Nigeria and Kenya, but they're also trying to become the Binance of Africa.
Okay.
All right.
There's a real war there.
And I was like, you know what? This is a real war here, right? As you said, right? It would be really good to kind of be here on the ground as whatever exchange becomes the dominant exchange here in Africa, right? Because one thing we know from traveling it is the best business in blockchain and crypto are exchanges. I mean, they're money printing machines.
Yeah.
Right? From Binance to any exchange in the world. BitMEX. I mean, these guys are just printing money, right? They're basically the guys selling picks and tools to people in the gold rush.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's a bull market or bear market. Right? And we think that, I mean, just being involved in this space, you almost have to be involved with an exchange. Right? As you guys know, I'm an ambassador to KuCoin, right? But even that, I'm also investing in exchanges, right? Like with Resistance, the DEX we're investing in. But I think just even for this space to grow and go mainstream, we have to really have more and more exchanges. But they have to have that opportunity, right? And I think the Binance story is such a good story because they were being chased out of Asia. I mean, they're from China. China banned ICOs, exchanges. They went to Hong Kong, other places, Tokyo, Japan for a bit, then went to Malta, right? Then out of nowhere, they just opened a fiat gateway in Uganda. Because I was thinking maybe Malta, but I guess maybe even Malta didn't have the right stuff to open a fiat gateway, right? And it seems that just that one meeting with the president made everything streamlined, that they chose that over Malta, over Asia, where they were being chased away, right? And it seems that we really have to get almost political and start to lobby. And if we do that, I feel like it's easier to lobby the African presidents over the other developing world presidents.
So there's a movement in Africa right now. It's like if you really want that to work, the Africans have to own the exchanges. So that's the only reason that Golix work in Zim, because the developer and the founder, Tawanda, he's from there. So they managed to set up, and they had a fiat gateway. I don't know if they're still operating now because now they kind of banned the banks with them, the whole politics. But the only thing is, if you want to lobby them in, then they have to own the exchanges. They own people.
What, the countries, the president?
No. It's just like the Africans have to build the exchanges.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little easier.
I don't think. So you mean like the Ugandans owning the Binance exchange?
No. It's like the
He's
Africans
probably got a
have to
share.
own.
Oh, share
have a
equity.
share because there's a whole.
Okay, I mean that
movement
makes
against
sense.
it.
I mean, because I know that going back to the Bittrex example, right? I know Bittrex has a similar model, right, where they basically kind of give the software to a local exchange, and they kind of partner with them as a joint venture, right? Kind of like with Upbit in Korea, right?
Yeah, that's a very good model.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
People
so-
are too much against things that they don't own being used, and then the government play the politics around, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, all right, let's change this topic now, off of politics.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you guys think about the current market? What do you think we are? What do you think we're headed? We won't ask you to predict the price of Bitcoin, unfortunately. But just overall outlook, right? What do you think is coming up in next year, the next 1 or 2 years for the space? I'll start with you, Torsten.
I'd say we're definitely going through an extended phase of bear market still. I'm still seeing it going lower. Doesn't really.
I keep
feel
hearing
like,
that as well from traders and other people.
Yeah, doesn't feel like it was a bottom yet. Like just doesn't. Yeah, and then we're needing like. The thing is, everyone is kind of waiting. There's a group psychology going on. It's like the moment that it picks up momentum going upward, it will be just like a freaking fireball. I think like a firework. It's like everyone is waiting for that reversal, and then no one wants to miss the ship, or the train, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So, don't know when it's gonna happen. There's something interesting in play. What I'm also watching is the global financial markets, and I feel like it seems like that the U.S. markets have already reached their highs and are already declining.
Yeah, I keep hearing that. I keep hearing that a
2008,
recession is coming.
It took a year, 2007, 2008. It took a year from the market high till the crash. So we have reached that high in October. So we might have another 10 months or something if it goes by the books.
And that's the global financial market, you're saying, right?
Yeah, and that will just ripple through everything. Like all the US dollar, the euro, the Japanese, like everyone is sitting on so much debt. It's unbelievable. And we are like in a way worse situation than we've been in 2008. And so it could play into some interesting dynamic between that and crypto. So for sure, people are going to rush into safe havens, which is historically silver and gold. Now the Bitcoin is in the game. It wasn't there in 2008, so we don't have anything to compare it to, like what's going to happen. But looking at the Bitcoin price at the moment, it doesn't feel like it is overvalued. It kind of feels like it's finding its...
I don't think it's overvalued at all.
No.
Right? So
but that's what I'm saying. Like now, it's if it was still at 20, it would be
right.
maybe harder to see it as a safe haven versus now. Like so, I think the psychology, maybe that's like the right timing is coming out. And then also, when we hit rock bottom, like in the worst times, it's when people are willing to leave their comfort zone of what we know worked in the past and showed us clearly it doesn't work anymore, and we're willing to adopt something new. So it's actually the most perfect time to start a new adoption phase. Like people are willing to try something new because they fucking realize the stuff what we tried for this does not work. We're sitting on
I think that's a really good way of looking at it. Now going back to the whole financial markets, so I'm definitely not an expert on this space in terms of financial markets or trading, but I keep hearing the same thing as well, that a recession is coming soon, right? And actually speaking, the example they give is the IPO market, right? Initial public offerings. So people are saying in the next 6 months or so, there's for 2019, there's a rush for startups to do IPOs because they also kind of sense a decline is coming, right? When it comes to the financial space. For example, like Lyft is filing for an IPO, Uber I think is really exploring an IPO. Like all these big companies who are still private are now almost starting to rush to go public because they sense that this could be the top, right? Because after that, it could be a decline. And I think this is really almost in a way going to mirror Bitcoin, right? I mean, kind of like with the 2008 crisis, right? But I feel like Bitcoin is ahead of the dip, right? Bitcoin has already dipped from 20,000 to 3,000, right? So I think whenever the next crisis comes for the global financial crisis, I feel like Bitcoin will be maybe half a year to a year ahead of that, right? So people, as they see the crisis occurring, will flee to crypto and Bitcoin, right? Because I think the same thing happened in 2008. That's when Bitcoin was born, really, right?
Yeah.
And then also with the Cyprus, with the bank runs, right? So I feel like all these economic crashes are actually good for Bitcoin and crypto. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to comment so much on the crisis. I think it would definitely spike the market a little bit, since it's quite an alternative market. But I think crypto was overvalued. So during the pump, I would listen to what Ray Dalio would say and what Warren Buffett would say. It was like, it's hogwash, the market's still going. And it did. And then this crash taught me to actually go back and read a lot of economic history and the previous pumps and dumps. And if you look at it, this is a market that went ahead before any actual products. It was just like selling the future.
It was hot
This
air.
is we're gonna do, vaporware basically.
Yeah.
This is what we're gonna do, and here's the money, and almost immediately the value of something is already increasing when they just released the white paper and then the roadmap. The next week they release, we made a partnership, but no product, right? So right now, looking at what's happening, Ethereum under $100, I'm not really surprised that much anymore.
Oh, I mean, I was surprised on that one.
But if you think about it,
I was out on Ethereum. Sorry to interrupt.
no worries.
Because Ethereum went to 1,500, right? And I got out of Ethereum. I cashed most of my Ethereum out at $725. But I had no idea it was going to go under $100 USD. Did anybody see that coming? All right.
I didn't know. I didn't know that it was going to go that low. But
I thought Hayes did, though.
I'm
right?
not too
The big
surprised.
CEO.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think he called Ether a shitcoin.
There's a
No,
lot of
actually,
people-
I'm sorry.
Because
So he called it a double-digit shitcoin.
Right.
Right. So he was actually right. It came all the way down to double digits.
Exactly. It could be worse. But now it's like you have all these assets. Companies are not they don't have any product still. They're not making any revenue. So which other market can resembles this one? There's none, because if you look at the stock market, at least it's still speculation.
I think
but at
the-
least you have things to back it up.
Yeah, I think you're right. The only thing that reminds me of this is the dot-com boom.
Exactly. So I was about to jump into that. So you see that the dot-com boom happened, and then after that, real companies with real values, were born from there. Now we have a price to a stock with at least some real value back to it. The Googles and the Facebook of the world. So I think this is probably the last boom without some sort of product. After this, now it's like my position now is like, how am I gonna kind of look onto these coins, and more like a VC approach. It's like, what's really going to work here? And it's not easy anymore. You will see a lot of companies maybe crash and burn in the next couple of years because they run out of capital, or they raised the money but they were holding Ether.
Oh,
Now
yes.
Ether tumbled down.
Yeah, that's
You
happening
see.
a lot.
So many of them, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I think, maybe it might take some time for a spike to come through, but when it does, it won't be like this anymore where everything just inflates. I think it will be maybe you see one or two coins without expecting them just do well, and maybe 3, 4, 5. It's like those kind of spikes. Yeah, that's.
Anybody want to comment on that? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know, I still see Ethereum as one of the greatest inventions ever. I mean, I see it kind of like, if you look at all the altcoins that we've got, all the tokens, and I mean, that's where a lot of your shitcoins come from. But the thing is, it's basically like the paper on which the money is being printed. And, with dApps and what they're doing in the in the gaming space, with actual collectible items, the engine token guys are doing with actual tokens that you can hold and things like that. I don't know. It's other than Bitcoin, you had Ethereum, and then from Ethereum, it gave birth to basically everything else. I think also one of the things in this space, we must know that there's old money that also doesn't want us to succeed. You know, there's got to be
the banks and all those.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, look, the banks seem to like Ripple. I think over 6,000 banks have run pilot tests with Ripple. Even in South Africa, we had a pilot test with Ripple. So I'm not sure. You might be able to shed more light on why you think they're focusing so much on Ripple itself, where people say Ripple is similar to Ethereum, where it doesn't have like.
I mean, so
you know,
I will always have a special place in my heart for Ripple. That was my first 10x investment in crypto. Whether they have a token utility or not, right? But I keep going back to this. Me as somebody who came from the enterprise world via IBM and Deloitte, looking at Ripple, when I first joined the space, and I saw all the other companies in the space, not even looking at the utility of their token, I just looked at Ripple, I said, this is the most credible company in this space. And that was because they have an enterprise mindset. Like, they speak their language. They speak the IBM language, the Oracle language, the Fortune 500 language. That's why I think they have so many partnerships with banks. I mean, I think they have over 50 partnerships with banks around the world. And you don't get there unless you speak their language. And I felt like this was the most enterprise-ready business in blockchain. Because all the other blockchain projects you would see were a bunch of hackers in their basements trying to code open source and change the world via anarchy, right? I mean, it sounds good in theory, but as a businessman, I was like, that's not gonna fly, right? But when I went to Ripple and their website, their documents, they understood it. Like, I mean, people would joke that Ripple are a bunch of guys in suits, but that's how you do business in the enterprise world. You wear suits, right? I mean, there's a reason why the IBM motto is blue suits, right? Big blue, right? So I saw Ripple as a real business, right? They weren't just a bunch of hackers in the basements, hacking stuff, trying to cause anarchy. Like, they were trying to make change without really destroying the status quo, if that makes sense, right? So they were trying to innovate in the banking system without killing the banks. They partner with the banks, right? So I think that's why Ripple has been around for a long time. That's why even now it's the second biggest market cap project, even now more than Ethereum, which is shocking, right? But not so shocking if you look at it from that perspective, right? Imagine you're a VC, a venture capitalist, right? Who do you invest in? These guys in suits that have 50 partnerships and are running this like an actual business, or these hackers trying to do privacy coin like Monero and, kill the banks, right? So looking from that perspective, Ripple is a real business. Now the issue people have with Ripple is that it's not really living up to the status quo, to the ethos of decentralization, being against the banks, killing the banks. So I think that's where people have the issue with it, right? Then people say, oh, they don't really need a token, right? I mean, but sure, they may not need a token, but they're still doing business, right? They're still getting these partnerships, doing all this, right? So I think the token, yes, it definitely doesn't really have much value, but it's still number two. I mean, if it has no value and it's the second biggest market cap project, then everything after that has no value, which is even crazier, right? So that's really, I guess, my take on that.
I totally agree with you on that. Yeah.
Well,
In terms of Ripple and Stellar, do you guys think that Stellar has a better value proposition than Ripple?
Good question. Yes and no. I'm sorry to give you two answers. I think yes, in the sense that people in the blockchain community seem to have an issue with Ripple. I believe they had some kind of early pre-mine, or the company that owns the majority of the tokens, right? And Jed McCaleb, the founder of Stellar, basically forked Ripple and made Stellar, and I think took out most of the issues that people had with it, right? I think that's maybe the better way, but I don't really think it's better per se, right? But I mean, I haven't really looked into the actual history of both of them.
I think the way I understood it, I met Jed actually in New York. The way I understood it is that, well, Ripple Ripple went down the corporate round, and Stellar is going for the
Consumer.
consumer and social impact.
Yeah, I thought that as well, but then I was like, they had that partnership with IBM.
Yeah, but
Right.
IBM is also supporting. Well, yeah, it's
Right.
both. It's
So
the interesting thing with Ripple. I don't know now about Stellar, but there's a startup here in South Africa. I met them in Joburg. They're using Ripple as a so you can use your phone to pay at a card machine. From like basically they taking the money from your bank account, like from anywhere in the world, changing it into Ripple, sending it to South Africa, changing it back to South African rand, and paying the merchant with it.
uh-huh.
It happens within split seconds. And it was the
Wow.
first time that I actually really looked into Ripple, like what Ripple's use case actually is for the token, and it's
Yeah.
really, it's actually just microsecond or like seconds exchange in one country and exchange in the other country. Like there's just no reason
like
to
fast
hold the
back
token.
processing.
The token itself is not being held.
Mm-hmm.
They're just bought and sold immediately, just to cross borders.
Yeah,
in
cross-border
instance.
payments,
Yeah.
remittances.
Remittance, yeah. And so they're using
Yeah.
that in an interesting way. They developed a software that links with the card machine software, and so now you're able to just type in your phone number into the card machine, and you pay instead of putting a physical card in. You literally
Yeah.
just pay. That was
Now-
kind of that's what.
now
the
speaking
trial
of that,
was,
Now, this may be crazy, but I'm bullish on Ripple, the business, but not so much the token,
yeah.
right?
That makes sense, yeah.
But for now, it seems the token is tied to the business, even though it's not really used by the business.
I think, I mean, I don't like Ripple at all. I came into crypto partly because I remember the bank froze my account. I couldn't take my money out, because
Yeah.
I'm originally from Malawi here.
Uh-huh.
So my visa was almost expiring, and while I wait for the other one, the bank could allow me to access my money. That was one
Oh,
of the
wow.
reasons that I got into crypto. So I don't like Ripple, but I mean, if I look at it as an investor, I want to make money. I still have to put money into it. Stellar is good philosophy. If you're pro crypto anarchist vibes, I mean, Stellar is great. I don't think the technology is different per se. It's pretty much the same. Like you said, it's a different philosophy and social impact, whereas Ripple is still more like the traditional 9-to-5 business. So I hold a little bit of Stellar, but like now a huge chunk of my portfolio have some good Ripple in it. Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you. I can't tell you what I think.
I also like the fact that
Interesting.
they're able to launch decentralized applications as well. I think they have Smart Lend so far, which is an STO. I guess that might be our next discussions.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think that's just a good thing to bring up, right? I've seen in the last 6 months lots of ICOs built on Stellar, right? I know like there was Mobius, and there are some others as well, right? ICOs that are building on Stellar. I mean, actually, even Sparkster. Sparkster is a fork of Stellar, right? And I asked them, why did you guys use Stellar? And they said that it could handle faster transactions at that time than Ethereum, right? And it really got me thinking. I mean, it's nowhere close to Ethereum in terms of the amount of projects building on Stellar, but Stellar does have some adoption, right? If you were to make a list of projects building on blockchains, the top is probably Ethereum, then you probably have some building on Stellar, EOS, and some others, right? But I mean, Stellar is definitely, I think, a top 5 blockchain right now. And I think that's why the market cap backs that up.
Right.
So, sorry.
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. So, with this recent slump, what happens if Ethereum? When will it reach a point where it's lower than it's viable to mine? And the same with Bitcoin. And what happens then?
I mean, to be honest, I don't really know much about that. I'm not really a miner, per se, right? From people who I've heard talking about the same question, right? I think the price point was between like 1,500 to 3,000, right? But that's not really my expertise. Anybody here a miner? Anybody here mine?
I've
Okay.
done some
You done-
mining a little bit. I mean, obviously, when the market cap and the volume decreases, the difficulty level decreases as well, which is great for money making. So if you're a miner, you're making more money now than during the all-time high. But the problem is, I mean, you're getting more crypto value, you know,
Yes, yeah.
than then. But then it's now about if you're looking at the fiat value of it or you're looking at the crypto value. So it depends also when are you buying, you know, when are you investing in your mining rigs, and you know, I think anything like if you're mining Bitcoin, I think right now it's still great. I mean, we're still pretty much where we were last year, so I haven't seen any difference.
Or two.
That,
Yeah.
that depends exactly when you jumped in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know I've been mining with quite a few other cloud mining, and they pretty much closed because the return wasn't actually
The cost?
The cost was quite high compared to what they were actually giving back to
Interesting.
the investors and stuff. So it's really,
One thing I've
for
been
those
hearing-
who jump in right now,
Yeah.
they probably would be able to make more profit than
Yeah.
people who invested. Like for example, myself, I invested during the spike last
Oh,
year,
wow.
and I sad to say, but I've spent like nearly 10,000 US, and it's boom, gone.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
because
Now, one thing I've been hearing
is
about that
closed.
with miners is some miners may be hedging their investment in mining by shorting the market, right? As a way to kind of hedge their investment.
Smart.
Yeah, but
Yeah, well, no. So what you were touching there was, they call it the death spiral. It's like when the price goes down, then the profitability of the miners goes down, and it, depending on where they are based, they have higher costs, and depending on the electricity and obviously the ROI that they want to have. So what happens is the miners shutting down the systems. Now the algorithm adjusts every 2 weeks, I think it is. And so now because less hash power is in the network, the algorithm lowers the difficulty. And so now it becomes profitable again for the ones that are still in the race. But now if the price drops again, people dropping out again, hash power drops again, algorithm slows down. So it's a death spiral, basically, until we have a reversal. Like if the prices keep going down, then the miners will keep dropping out. And then without miners, the network becomes more and more useless, basically.
That's exactly the same questions I had actually. Like when, say for example, there's no more profitability into mining stuff, and all the mining company decide actually to close.
Well, the good thing is that like
What happens now to Bitcoin?
the three biggest mining companies, like Bitmain and the two other, like they're having more than 50% of the hash power. They're sitting on like investments in like the hundreds of millions, for probably billions, and also in holding in bitcoins and holding in physical. They will not let this market collapse. Like they have the firepower to make sure that they stay profitable. If these guys give up, then it's probably we're gonna see tough times. But I think they will not let it happen. They're Chinese, so just saying, like they find a way.
Even we will make sure.
Yes.
Nothing goes.
Yeah.
all right. Well, I mean, thank you guys so much for being part of the panel. I mean, definitely stay here. I think let's now open up the floor for questions. If you guys have any questions, okay, you have a question over here.
The way I see it, and I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, is I see the whole cryptocurrency market more as a wishful thinking rather than actually an opportunity, because I'm not sure where the value lies and what it's going to change in the traditional banking industry. Because banking's been here for 600 years, and there's a reason it's been there for so long, because it actually works. But with cryptocurrency, who's the people that are actively trading it, actively going for it? It's the middle class and the poor, the same people who fall for the guys coming up in Lamborghini saying, yeah, I'm rich, take my course, you'll be rich. The same people who are actually paying taxes where the rich aren't paying taxes because they deduct it. So I don't see where there's a value in cryptocurrency as to anything else, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think the value is still being built, right? I mean, going back to what you said earlier, right? Initially, the value was wrongly placed in projects that were just ideas, vaporware, hype, FOMO, whatever you want to call it. But I wouldn't say there's no value at all, right? I mean, I think the fact that even to this day, over $100 billion worth of money is in the space, means that people perceive some kind of value in it.
No, of course, but like, who's the people who are actually profiting from that? It's the people who are making the coins and all that. So in a sense,
I
it's
mean,
just
I think
a
it's
power of business in a sense.
people making the coins, the projects issuing the coins. You also have the miners. You have the speculators, from traders to investors. So, I mean, in terms of actual utility, it's definitely not there. I mean, it's not zero, but it's still growing, right? But I think the same thing can be looked at if you go back to the dot-com boom, right? And how investors or people are looking at projects like Amazon, Google, and they weren't making money. They weren't profitable businesses at all, right? People were investing in the future potential of them, right? I mean, I don't think Amazon began making money until recently.
Are they actually making money?
They still aren't making money. Excuse me. Right? But that doesn't mean there's no value in that, right? I think crypto requires a whole new perspective of looking at things, right? Kind of like how the dot-com boom did with Google and Facebook and all these new companies, right? Where the actual valuation model wasn't on revenue or sales, it was on users and growth, right? And companies really had to, or VCs had to really come up with a different way of evaluating them. And as of now, that's now paid out, right? Now those companies that before were just hype and had no business model or money, now are printing money, right? And I think blockchain requires the same kind of perception. We have to view it from a totally different angle, right? And I think what now may seem like hype or FOMO, right? I think a better word is more potential. I think down the road, 10 years from now, that would actually be of value. Those I mean, not every company will end up being a Google or Amazon, but I think we'll still have those kind of big wins from viewing it this particular point of way.
Yeah, I like to see, so pick it up from a different angle. I mean, if you look at history, like you're saying, banks have been there for 600 years and they're there because they're doing a good job or like they're doing what is needed. You can like, to every like giant invention in history, even like from like the post office using horse carts, and then the telegraph came in and they were like, why would we need this thing, like wiring across the country and stuff? We have all the horses, right? These guys got obsolete very quickly, like things just happen like that. They've invented the planes, like why would we need to fly somewhere? We have ships, and who wants to travel anyway? Like, and then in like 10 years time, like freaking like the whole world's connected. So it's really perspective. The banks have been there and they have done their job, and they have done what was necessary over the last 600 years. And I'm not saying they have done a good job, but they definitely have fulfilled their role. And it feels like we're going into a new age, a new era where we do not want to rely on these middlemen anymore, and we do not want to rely on. I think that's very good. Yeah, it's not just the middlemen, but it's the centralization of power and everything that comes with that. So this technology is, I think, incredibly important for. It's acknowledging this.
Add on to that.
Yeah.
Very quickly. The only industry really, well, not the only industry, but one of the industries that hasn't been disrupted by innovation has been the banking industry. We've had everything, including the taxi industry, the lodging industry, right? Uber, Airbnb, all these different companies, communications by WhatsApp and Skype and Telegram and all kinds of communications. But the banking industry hasn't really had anything disrupted. And now we have something that has the potential to possibly disrupt it, right? So, okay, you had a question?
Yes, why is it portfolio KuCoin?
I mean, KuCoin is helping sponsor our Crypto World Tour, right? The stuff for traveling. So, and the market has been tanking a lot. So everything else has kind of been tanking, while we're basically, like the expenses and everything are being covered by KuCoin, right? So they pay us half in dollars, half in tokens, right? So that's why half the portfolio is in KuCoin. Okay.
It's really a comment to add into this conversation around banking and also why I believe we're all here. And it's it's also an honoring to everybody that's present in this room, because they have to be pioneers of new programs.
Yeah.
And for me, the new program that this planet is asking for is transparency, decentralized, distributed, so that we can all be accountable to each other. If there is something I'm hiding, which unfortunately banking systems are perfect living examples of terrible corruption that really maximize impact on the poor and middle class people, then it's time for that to all be transparent and accountable. And this is the only technology I've ever seen in my life that shows that potential. And from what I'm hearing with distributed technology outside of crypto, is we're even going to have water systems like this and everything else. So thank you for being the people that are bold enough to believe in something that is still in the air and futuristic.
Thank you, yeah.
And to add to what you said, just to my thoughts are there. Like what she said, there is kind of a need for a huge change, much like the internet changed everything when it came. The thing is, how that's gonna work, nobody knows, But something has to come out of this. But it's like it's almost like a lottery from your perspective as an investor, or if you're trying to build something. So there's something needs to change, like dramatically in the banking system. We need to decentralize power. How that's gonna look like, nobody knows. But like, it's just about something out of this is gonna happen, but you don't know what will work.
Now, I want to add to that. So you keep on having two different opposing points of view, but I don't think they have to be opposing.
Yes.
Right? I mean, because if you look at blockchain, the biggest companies involved in this space are the banks. Citibank, JP Morgan, all of them are part of the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. I mean, even with Ripple, pretty partnership with banks. So I don't think the banks necessarily have to be destroyed. I think we can all work together.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's more about unifying than dividing.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, just with regards to utility, I know someone personally who their daughter's visiting in America, and they wanted to send her money. So they sent her some Bitcoin, and she went to a Bitcoin ATM and withdrew that money in dollars. So I think that's also a way of working together with the banks, because the frustration with the banks in South Africa currently, when we want to send money from one bank to another, interbank transfers takes like 2 days.
Yeah.
So I mean, where Bitcoin is 10 minutes, and I mean people talk about, what about the fees that you pay for Bitcoin? It's minimal compared to what you're paying with banks. If I can withdraw from an ATM, I'm paying like 8-9 rand, to withdraw from an ATM. Whereas if I send someone some Bitcoin, or I'm more in Ethereum, I mean, I'm paying like 50 cents, 40 cents, So, I mean, the more I play in this space, the more I see this is the future of money. And that's what I wanted to hear from you, is just where do you see this going? Because I mean, I see all currency moving into this way, because just the ease at which you can send money, and especially international. And I mean, look, Maersk is now joined with IBM to pioneer some blockchain technology for their global trade business, to ease things up with other countries that it's been more difficult to trade with due to all the red tape and stuff.
So I think my perspective is this is the future. I mean, that's why I quit my job at IBM to be in this space, because I just enjoy being on the ground floor of something big being built up. And in terms of where this will go, I think it's going to disrupt so many different industries. But I think that the disruption doesn't necessarily mean killing that industry. Right? I don't think banking is going to go anywhere. I think banks are going to start working with blockchain. That's one of the things that I mentioned earlier, right? With the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, with Ripple, all these banks. I mean, banks get it. I mean, banks have been around a long time for a reason. I mean, they're good at surviving, right? So I don't think they're going to go away anytime soon. I think they'll just survive and adapt, right? And figure out new ways of surviving in this space and with blockchain. That's why, I mean, even JP Morgan has their own blockchain, right? So I think it's the future, but it's a space that does require banks to change their perspective And they're slowly but surely doing that, I think, right?
I think thinking of it this way, before then we depended on the telegram, post office, for letters, and
Oh, sorry, I can't hear. Can you speak
just
louder?
saying, sometime, so many years ago, we used to do the telegram, and then the post office was the big thing. So many
Yeah.
years ago, and then internet came, and then emails, and then WhatsApp. But still, we still have our post office. Still in operation.
Yeah, we still have.
We still have our post
We
office.
still have snail mail.
We still send emails. We still have WhatsApp, but we still have our telecommunications where we still use our normal airtime, you know. So I think I agree with what we are all saying, that they will adapt. They will adapt.
Yeah.
They will find a way of working together. So this is the thing.
Yeah.
It all depends on each and every one of us. If we adopt it,
I think that's good to bring up again, right? Now, going back to the whole, I guess people love to kill industries. I don't think the whole industry will get killed, but I think some titans of that industry will get killed. I mean, I think the best example is Netflix. They killed Blockbuster, right? Doesn't mean that people still can't rent DVDs. I mean, I think at least in America, they still Redbox and some others that still let you rent. Netflix still also does DVDs for those people who are still old school, right? But Blockbuster is dead for sure, or at least went bankrupt. Thank you, right? So I don't think entire industries will get killed, but some companies, their business models will no longer be viable, and they'll have to figure out a new way of doing business. And you had a question as well? There you go.
What do you think will trigger the next bull run?
Oh, next book. That's the $1 million question. I mean, this is the part where I say, I don't know. I mean, all I can do is just speculate and guess, like anybody else, right? Because I've seen so many people since January, since spring of this year, say, "When's the next bull run?" I mean, Pantera Capital said the market has bottomed out. We kept on dipping. I mean, CNBC has gotten so many predictions wrong. So, I mean, I'm not really in the prediction business, at least for Bitcoin in the market. But I mean, for me, I guess good and bad, I've always been optimistic on blockchain and crypto, which is why I'm always bullish. People say, why do I always say to the moon and beyond? Because I'm an optimist by heart, by nature, right? I always see opportunity. But I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I guess all I can say is I would think by end of Q1, I would hope the market has bottomed out, right? I feel like, I mean, the prices we see now from Bitcoin 20,000 to 3,000, Ether under $100, I mean, those are steals in my opinion, right? And people always say, people are saying at 20,000, oh, I wish I bought Bitcoin at 3,000. Now it's at 3,000. Nobody wants to buy. Right? Same thing with the Ether. Right? It's funny how that works, right? I mean, myself included. Right? Nobody wants to buy a falling knife, right? Something that keeps on falling. But, and people, you kind of have two camps. People that think the ETF would be big. People that think that it won't really do much. I mean, I'm bullish on that ETF announcement. I think, because right now, to my knowledge, they have 4 people in the SEC who vote on the ETF, and 2 people are pro-crypto, 2 are against crypto, right? So if there's a tiebreaker, their boss basically has to vote to break the tie. And I like those odds, right? Now, whether or not that's going to bring in institutional investors and all that stuff, I mean, I'm not really here to discuss that, but I think just that announcement will bring in the hype, the FOMO, the marketing, the awareness, right? Kind of like the bull run in December and January. I mean, we had the futures market open up, all right? But I think to me it was just more about the publicity. Everybody was talking about Bitcoin because we had this big news catalyst, something newsworthy to discuss, right? Right now, the only thing that's newsworthy is Bitcoin going down. And I think the sentiment around that news, if it's positive, can really lift all tides, right? I mean, that's definitely not financial advice. I'm just here speculating like anybody else, right? I don't really know what the market is going to do. But to me, I think just that positive sentiment will basically rally the troops and bring anybody who was sitting on the sidelines waiting to now, okay, oh wow, now they kind of have this big stamp of approval. Now this could possibly bring this whole wave back up. You guys want to comment on that?
It took 3 years from the crash in 2014 to another pump in 2017. I'm not saying that the history is going to repeat itself, but it could take longer. This kind of dumps, especially this kind of a huge amount of dump from 20,000 to 3,000 in such a short amount of time, and like you said, nobody wants to buy. Everybody's expecting to go lower. Oh, I will buy it lower, and then it just keeps on going. And also, I think some of the financial products have added to this dump. So if we still have BitMEX existing, and some of the contracts that at the CBOE market, I think those kind of things are taking the opposite money. So most people are shorting. A lot of traders that I know are shorting still. So that's money. Maybe that amount of money would have been going to Bitcoin, and a lot of OTC trades are going on for large amounts. So those numbers don't reflect on the exchanges. So you're gonna buy Bitcoin, whether it's 10,000 Bitcoins, but if it's not being reflected on the exchanges. You don't see anything.
Yeah.
So.
As a trader, I've got a very big short position in Bitcoin. But do you think it will ever have a spike like it had the past year? From what was it, 9,000 to 20,000 in a span of 6 months?
I mean, I think Bitcoin long term is going to reach new all-time highs, right? But I think that time frame, will be much longer.
So I don't think people can expect.
I mean, but then again, I think the optimist in me wants to leave that small glimmer of hope. Right? My friend Miho, who's a trader, says, "Hope dies last." Right? And I guess the whether it's being naive, I want to still have that possibility of just a rocket ship to the moon. But being a realist, though, I think it's going to be tougher. But I think it's tougher for the whole market to go to those all-time highs, but not for an individual project per se, right? I think one project could come out of nowhere and do 100x in 1 or 2 years,
So
or even shorter. But the whole market as a whole, maybe, huh?
So were you saying specifically now Bitcoin, or are you saying any coin could just come out of nowhere?
Any coin, I mean, something could come out there. I mean, something like RSK could come out there, and if it really improves upon Bitcoin and Ethereum and becomes the favorite project for the whole space, I mean, the value can still happen, right? I say that because if you look at venture capital investing, right, you still have large 100x startups that happen in a few years, right? I mean, Instagram went from a company with a few employees to 14 employees to being bought by Facebook for $1 billion in 2 years, right? So even in a very mature market, you still have those large home runs, right? Uber, for example. Uber is about to IPO. Well, they haven't confirmed, but they're exploring doing an IPO at a valuation over $100 billion. And Uber's been around, I don't know, less than 10 years, 5, 7, 6 years, right? So I think those home runs will still be there, but where the whole market is a home run, I don't think so.
Raven coin 110% from April to right now. So there's still things going on.
Yeah.
Ian, your main focus used to be ICO, if I believe correct.
Yes.
What do you do currently? The ICO with the current market conditions?
Yeah, I mean, I still do ICOs, just fewer. I mean, so the market went from doing 4 or 5 ICOs a month to now doing 1 every 4 months. So we're still doing it. We're just more diligent and more patient, right? I mean, even we were talking about this week about taking a break from ICOs because we have so many that are still waiting to be listed on exchanges, like we did MetaHash, ChromaWay, Resistance, Sparkster. We have so much locked up in ICOs right now. It makes no sense to do new ICOs. But I think as people keep on kind of bringing up SDOs, is something we're going to be exploring more. I think we're still early. It's still probably a year or so away, maybe even longer, but because there's no infrastructure yet. There isn't like a Binance for SDOs available. But I think just getting educated on that space and starting to kind of see how to best evaluate these companies is kind of what we're trying to focus on next.
So if ICOs were, if there's no more ICOs, does that mean your portfolio is definitely going to be shifted to something else? Or
No, I mean, we're still looking for ICOs. There aren't as many good ICOs coming out, if that makes sense, basically. Right, so we may do an investment every 3 or 4 months.
very personal questions. I didn't actually have the chance to follow you recently or right after the hack that happened to your account. Did you manage to retrieve your funds?
So a small portion of the funds were recovered. Then about a quarter of the funds or so are on exchanges, frozen. And we're working with law enforcement trying to get the funds back. All I can say is 2 out of 3 of the people of interest. I can't say whether or not they are the hackers until everything has been finalized. But they're people of interest. 2 out of 3 have been arrested for other hacks.
You both from?
Huh?
You both from?
Where they're from?
Yes.
I can't say that until everything is fine.
So in terms of the platforms, like obviously we've seen Ethereum like can't really handle much dApps. Which platforms do you think like are better, like that currently exist?
What platforms are better than Ethereum?
Yeah.
Oh. That currently exist.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to say RSK has a lot of potential. Rootstock, we met the team down in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I say RSK because the team has a history. They've built a product already. For those who don't know, they're bringing smart contracts onto Bitcoin. They basically bring the Ethereum virtual machine onto Bitcoin. So all the Ethereum dApps can run on Bitcoin. Right? And Bitcoin is much more secure via proof of work than Ethereum. So I think that has the potential to possibly compete with Ethereum. But I think Ethereum has the largest developer community out there, so that's a good head start to have. So I mean, if anything could compete with that, I think RSK is one that has potential. You guys?
I was with Charles Hoskinson recently when he was here,
And
you know, he shared a lot of things that these guys are working to do. And from what I've seen, I've been following Tron, Cardano, and Ethereum, obviously. I think Ethereum is great, but you know, I think more of the 3rd generation protocols, they seem to be solving the problems that Ethereum just have been, you know, maybe too careful to actually address already. So like what you said about bringing smart contracts to Bitcoin, Cardano has just launched something that they're launching proof of work sidechains. So you know they're based on the proof of work model, but then now they're launching proof of work sidechains, which is absolutely incredible. Now, you know, whether you're building on Ethereum because of the proof of stake that's coming through, or the proof of work, you're the proof of work kind of developer, you can now be able to integrate both chains on one protocol. So
yeah, I mean, I can definitely see Cardano having potential, right? I mean, I don't know much about the project. Huh?
So they don't really have nothing. They've been publishing papers.
No, well, yeah, that's the issue, right? I mean, they're very experimental. I mean, they have some code, but it's still early stage and it's very experimental. But I mean, the team has history with Charles Hoskinson being one of the early founders of Ethereum Classic.
Yeah.
Then the way they're developing Cardano, right? I mean, the theory sounds amazing. I believe they're using FOMO verification or some kind of programming methodology, which is the same manner they use to code spaceships to the moon, where it has to be like flawless. Otherwise, somebody could die, right? So I think the theory sounds amazing. Now, whether or not they'll actually execute, right, that remains to be seen. But I mean, many people are very bullish on this, on Cardano, the project, and you also, I mean, even Coinbase is exploring listing them, right? And Coinbase is pretty much one of the exchanges that's last to add projects. And the few they do add, the full altcoins they do add, they go through a very rigorous method of research. And for Cardano to be on that list, I mean, I think that really bodes well for them, right? You have something to say?
No, well, just a couple of things. Like Coinbase, I think it was just yesterday, was an article saying that Coinbase was exploring to list another 40 coins or something. They're going into the shitcoin hole. I only read the headline, we just didn't even open the
I mean,
article.
they did add Loom,
They added districts.
Districts, DNT, Civic, ZRX, Mana, all former all-star ICOs we covered and most of us invested in.
But then to follow up on that question, I think one player we keep forgetting about, or not like, I mean, it's EOS.
Yes, yeah. So
Because they're sitting, I'm pretty sure they cashed out a bit more than other projects that. So they're sitting on a lot of money to.
EOS definitely has potential.
Yeah, even if it's still like the theory, like they have the financial means to create whatever they want.
People had EOS though, because most people in space.
Because it's not really decentralized, and I think one of the examples was recently they're able to like freeze their smart contracts or something on the blockchain.
They reversed something or what?
Transactions.
And reverse transactions.
Yeah.
So I think that centralized interference is an issue with the people in the community.
Yeah.
Maybe Dendaron being under life as well. Friend wants to jump ship.
Sorry, what?
Dendarima.
Oh yeah.
Friend wants to jump ship or something.
Again, yeah. People are talking about that.
But I spoke to a reliable source that the politics inside Block One are really terrible. So
I've heard that as well.
yeah, that's one thing that's also been. I mean, I know people from some sort of have been believers of the project who have been selling off hugely. So and that plays a big role, like you say, in crypto. The names of who is involved, and when they're trying to step out.
I mean, I think history shows when people get out who are involved in a project, you also get out. Right? I mean, like Charlie Lee got out of Litecoin in January, and that was the top. So,
Genius.
I mean, so if anybody who's intimately involved with something gets out, I think it's good to get out as well.
So yeah, and I see like there's a lot of back and forth with this body called the SEC that we don't really know about in South Africa. Well, personally, I don't. And a Security Exchange Committee or Commission or something in the US.
Security Exchange
And
Commission.
they seem to be like quite fighting against ICOs. So what does that do to the history or the longevity or the future of ICOs for that matter?
Yeah, I think the future is STOs. That's kind of security token offerings, right? Because SEC has basically come out and said almost every ICO is a security. And if they're going to take money from US investors, then they have to register with the SEC or get an exemption from the SEC. The issue with the two ICOs, Paragon and Air Token, AirFox, they didn't get either of those from the SEC, and they're US companies and raised funds from US investors, so they went after them. As an example, so the SEC basically operates via, I guess, by I forget what the actual term is, but they basically they find people or they go after people to show examples and to show guidance, right? So
it's an America focused thing?
yeah, America focused. But I mean, people outside of America pay attention to it because as America goes, so do most other countries, right? So, and then the many projects that are involved that are based in America, right? Although they may be offshore or outside of America, but they're either in Silicon Valley or somewhere in America, right? So that's kind of, I think they're basically making everybody now go towards STO. So I think the STO wave is going to happen a lot sooner than we thought because of this third-party nudge, a shove, right? But yeah, that's kind of my take on that.
Will that be the same though?
We're here? Or?
No, like STO, would that then kind of be the same as what we
STOs are more regulated.
ICO?
STOs are more like the actual securities, right? So there's more regulation around them, from the financials to regulation of who's involved, quarterly reports, stuff like that. So basically like the stock market, right? So they're basically trying to clean up the space.
Just real quick, what exactly is an STO?
What is an STO? So it's a token of a security, right? So a security is a financial asset. So it's a tokenized. Excuse me. Sorry.
I was gonna say Chainum and Polymath. Do you think they're
Polymath.
Yeah. Do you think they're ready? And Chainum, do you think they're? I think it's on now. It's called on now. Do you think they're ready to be the platforms of the STOs?
No. Chainium is doing STOs? I didn't even know that.
They seem to be having something.
I thought Chainium was doing something else. But anyway, there's no de facto platform right now for STOs. So I don't think anything has come yet that's going to take over the space. Polymath, I don't think so. I haven't heard much of them since their conference that they had in Bahamas. The only news I've heard about is about how their owner possibly cashed out and has been buying Lambos and fancy stuff, and how people are mad. So that's all I've been hearing about Polymath, to be honest. In terms of platforms out there, I mean, I know other exchanges are going for this space, from Binance to OKX. There's also Open Finance, I believe, that's trying to build a platform for security tokens. But I know the exchanges that are current right now are trying to go after that space because, in my opinion, and I think their opinion as well, it's the next big bull market, right?
I won't comment on Polymath because I'm just got bullish on it. So.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You guys are like more the eyes and ears because you've been moving around the world and stuff and sort of interacting with crypto communities. What is it like for, as far as you've interacted with them, research and what people sort of going more into like digging into the fundamentals of it? Canada has the BRI, the Blockchain Research Institute and stuff. What is the status around the world for you guys since you? Do you speak to some academics? Do you speak to
academics?
Like more people who are
in terms of what they're doing with blockchain?
Yeah, like
I think we don't really speak with academics. The one we spoke with was in London. I think went to some university there. It's like a data analytics institute, and they're using blockchain just more for research, right? Like for example, they can they basically get the blockchain and they visualize it using visual analytics, and can create a visual representation of the blockchain and see how transactions are moving. And using that, they can visualize and see patterns on the blockchain. So for example, they've gone through and analyzed transactions from Silk Road, and they can spot when people were doing stuff on Silk Road. And this kind of stuff like they use for law enforcement, with the FBI, other law enforcement around the world use as a way to really look at the blockchain from a visual manner. But in terms of other universities outside of that, we haven't really spoken with any.
I know that Stanford and Berkeley have blockchain labs, and then Swiss Institute of Technology also has a blockchain arm. So the three I know of.
Okay, hold on. Oh, sorry. Anybody here who actually came with a project they wanted to share? You said you had a project, or no ICOs here? Okay, all right.
This is the
We're
first
good.
time, or this happens now all the time?
Some places it happens, yeah. That's fine. So no ICO pitch for this part of it. Just wanted to confirm. Okay, somebody had a question?
So during this bear market, how are you staying liquid?
Am I staying liquid?
How are you staying liquid? How are you getting by?
Okay. I've several ways, right? So probably beginning of the year, like March, April, during the bull run, or when the top was slowly coming down. So after January, I began taking profits to fiat, right? And I guess my mentor, Wal, told me back that when yours want to take out enough money to last you 1 or 2 years at your current lifestyle, all right? So probably, yeah, around March, April, I took out like $500,000, right, as income to last me 1 or 2 years, right? So basically, as a rainy day fund, right, for bad times. Then also other good ICOs like PundiX has done well, even though it's been a bear market. It's done incredibly well, right? So I put in 150 Ether at that time, was like 160, I don't know, 160,000, something like that. And I've probably cashed out more than 700,000 worth of PundiX, $2. And I still have some PundiX. Right, so PundiX has been, hey, welcome. Thank you for joining us. So PundiX has been really, really good to me this year, right? Because at the all-time high, it was like a 20x. If you take into account the 7% bonus tokens each month, right? They give you via the airdrop, right? So I mean, without PundiX, I'd have been more wrecked. So PundiX saved me a lot, right? So I would say just having some good wins, some good solid wins early in the year. Loom, PundiX, Mainframe, Correct Chain early on, right? But then also, when I saw the bear market coming, I guess the entrepreneur in me, the businessman in me, knew I had to diversify into other businesses, right? That's when we began really hitting the ground hard, finding corporate sponsors, right? So finding KuCoin. KuCoin has definitely helped out a lot. Then also just doing this crypto world tour, because this is really a way for us to meet people around the world and basically build networks, right? Because your network is your net worth, right? So that has really, really helped out a lot. Then I just have lots of other travel hacks. Like I stay with the same few hotels, so I get points back, right? I have credit cards I use everything on to get points back as well. So after a while that adds up where I can book free flights, free hotels here and there. All right, and then also just mitigating cost, right? Like I technically don't have a home, right? So I'm just living in a hotel. When I do go back home, I just live with my parents for a week or two, then I go back on the road, right? I don't have a car, so yeah, I guess that's how I've been getting by. How about you guys? No comment?
I still go with the theory of having enough liquid to last a year or two.
Yeah.
So I'm on that as well. And I'm active in the space still. I consult for several companies. I work for Hercules as well in Cayman Islands.
What's Hercules? Sorry.
Hercules, it's a supply chain management system or software that we built on the blockchain. The first use case was precious metals. So we started with gold monitoring, and now we have a product that's working, a token that's traded. So obviously, with several projects that I've worked with before, now they have tokens listed on the markets. So that means I would sell and still have some cash. And I still trade OTC markets. I mean OTC trades as well, and some early investments that did well. Recently, Ravencoin. I jumped in, I think, in April. Yeah. And I made 110x on that. So, there's still little things happening there. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Ravencoin?
Yeah.
That's when I got into Binance. Yeah, I think it was a community coin. One of those community.
Huh.
ICO, right? Just the mining.
Yeah.
Just wow.
Mining and some kind of a VC jumped on it. It's a really great project. Yeah.
Any thoughts on Icon One Chain?
Oh. That tells you all you need to know. I was talking this with Diego, my business partner, a few days ago. I think Icon, actually, let me see what Icon price. What's the Icon price now? It's almost ICO price, right? So just give me a minute here. 21 cents. ICO price was 12 cents. So talk about the fall of an icon, right? To get from over 100x to where it is now. And I think looking back at it, Icon, in a way, sums up the space last year, right? I think Icon, I think the technology is good, the team is good, but I think it may have really risen too much last year, right? Because 100x in basically a month or two is, looking back now is incredible. And I think there may have been some factors that may have been inorganic maybe, or maybe even manipulated who knows, right? Because
They don't
it
tap
is
Scott
crypto.
as-
Huh?
They don't tap Scott as one of their advisors, and most people tend to feel like Don is kind of like the thought leader in the space.
I guess you could say that. I mean, outside of that, I mean, he has many projects he's advising, but outside, I mean, I think it's more of could be more of a career market thing, right? And for example, right now we're in a bear market, and there was an exchange there called DEX, I think, that did a 140x before dumping, right? I mean, I'm not gonna allege that anybody's doing like wash trading or anything of that nature, but I think this space could definitely use more regulation on exchanges. I mean, whether it's funds or other third parties or some people just trying to boost up the price. I mean, I think there are definitely people that are manipulating some projects, right? Whether it's the project itself or outside parties who have a vested interest in the project, right? I think this is more of a crypto problem than an icon problem, right? But I think some factors could have played into that drastic meteoric rise. Right now, in terms of long-term future of icon, I think it's going to be tougher for it, to be honest, right? Because last year was the time. Now there's more competition. The space is tougher. Now you have even competition in Korea. You have Ergo. You have, I think, Phantom. And I think Phantom's in Korea as well, and some other projects. So icon is not just on its own. And now investors are smarter. They're diligent, more patient, more cautious when it comes to investing. So I think it's going to be a while before it goes back to all-time high, or if it even does, right? Because if you go back to past crashes, 90% of the projects never go back to the all-time high, right? For example, if you go back to a year ago when Stratus, who here was part of Stratus, the project, right? Because I know I was swing trading Stratus from like 30 cents all the way to $12. When Stratus was over $1 billion in market cap valuation. This was during the whole Bitcoin fork wars, right? Then it crashed. Stratus never went back to $12. I think the highest it may have been like a couple of bucks, right? And most projects as well, right? I mean, like Siacoin and others, right? So I think the fact that new competition is coming and the space is getting tougher, I think getting for any project in general to go back to all-time highs is going to be really, really tough. Like, it has to be really extraordinary. So am I bullish on icon? I mean, I still do own some icon. I still own my bonus tokens, right? But no, I mean, yeah, it's tough. I guess I have other projects I'm more bullish on, if that makes sense. I mean, I still like icon, but I would rather put my money in other projects like RSK coming out, or even Loom, right? I think whenever the next bull run comes, I feel like Loom has more potential. If anything, I think Loom is going to be more stable at whatever price I get in the next few months than icon, if that makes sense. And then OneChain, I'm definitely not bullish on that one. And I think OneChain, they botched it, right? I think they overpromised, underdelivered. They told us they're going to do X, Y, and Z, didn't really achieve it, kept on pushing back, didn't really hit any of their roadmap goals, which is understandable, but they didn't really have any communication with investors. And I think the investor relations matter, right? The community relations matter, right? And then they had all kinds of internal politics going on. Then Dustin left the company, I believe, and is now doing a different project with his dad, right? So there's so much chaos internally that, I mean, I'm not so bullish on OneChain going forward. I'm more bullish on icon and OneChain, right? But OneChain I'm not at all. Anybody else want to share their take on icon or OneChain? Ontology. Oh, that's a good one. So Ontology is the new Neo, right? I think Neo, I mean, so we went to China, and actually I was surprised. Ontology's offices are next to Neo, like next door. Right? Because we went to visit New York Global Capital, right? They're the VC arm of Neo and Ontology, right? And I think the unspoken truth is that people in Neo are jumping ship to Ontology, because it's kind of the same company, but I think whatever issues they may have with Neo, they're solving with Ontology. Although publicly they haven't gotten out of Neo, but if you look at the price, it's been going down constantly. right? So I think eventually, I mean, because even I think their CEO Da Hong Fei, I mean, he's basically running two companies. He's kind of like Elon Musk, running two companies. But I think he's putting more attention on ontology than Neo.
So basically, the Polish one control it over me.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, if I could short Neo, I would. But
But I'm too concerned though with the supply of ontology because I think they have 291 million and they have overall is a billion.
the token supply of ontology. I mean, they have what?
They have like 291 million circulation, and then the overall supply is, or total supply is like 1 billion.
I mean, I think the supply could be a concern, but I think it's just one data point. I think you have to look at all the other factors, right? That's what I do when I do token metrics. The supply does matter, but it's not the end-all be-all, right? It's just one data point. If that data point is bad and so is everything else, then yes. But if everything else is good and it makes up for that issue, then I think it's good, right? I mean, I was bullish on ontology. I would have liked to have been part of the private cell, but nobody could get into that one. I think only like the Asia funds were able to get a piece of that one. But I mean, ended up doing pretty well in the bear market.
So do you think that the city of Zion is also going to move to ontology?
City of that I don't know. I mean, all I know is all the developers I know who have tried to build on Neo have left Neo. I mean, I'm advising Phantasma. They initially were building a Neo. They left up building their own blockchain. I know the Prima Block guys were trying to add pooling capabilities onto Neo as well, right? Because they're doing, you guys know Prima Block, right? The pooling site for pooling smart contracts? Not really? Okay.
Well, how do you spell it?
Prima Block?
Prima Block, yeah.
I guess right, so how do you guys pull? I guess you guys don't pull here in South Africa? For ICOs? Back then? Nah? Okay, so anyway, they're trying to build on Neo, and they had issues as well and just gave up and said it's not ready. I mean, most developers I know who have tried Neo have said it's not ready. The marketing is ahead of the development, right? So I think they overpromise, underdeliver.
Two projects you're advising, Phantasma and Ncash. What are your thoughts on those?
I'm bullish on Phantasma. Phantasma, for those that don't know, I haven't sold a token yet of Phantasma, even in this bear market. And one of the main reasons is I've seen what the team is building, and I like it. I like the progress. I think they're very smart, very thrift, very nimble. And then I'm also planning to do masternodes when the masternodes come out as a way of getting some passive income.
Isn't the team constantly small?
The team?
The team isn't small.
Yeah, it's a small team. I mean, that's why they only raised $10 million at the amount, right? And I think they've done a lot for, I mean, they put out, have you guys heard of the game Nacho Man they put out? I thought that was very impressive to put that very quickly, right, on the Neo blockchain, right? But then now they're forking and doing their own blockchain. And I thought, I mean, I don't even know any other dApps on Neo besides like the Blockchain Explorer. And I was like, wow, these guys are really building something.
Did you get into? Did anyone here got into Hedera Hashgraph during the private sale?
No, I thought they were raising too much money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were raising 200 million USD for 4% of tokens. That was ridiculous.
So asking how is it Hashgraph and MetaHash? How are they different?
Hashgraph. Oh, that's a good question. I mean, that's more of a question for a blockchain developer. I mean, so MetaHash is a hybrid. It's a hybrid blockchain and a hybrid DAG, if that makes sense. It kind of takes the best of both worlds, right? While Hashgraph, I mean, I haven't really looked much into the technology. All I know, because their tokenomics kind of put me off, so I haven't really delved deep into their technology, so I don't really know much about Hashgraph.
Yeah, they're using something called the Merkle tree. It was pretty impressive. They have some.
Yeah, I mean, they had some very good claims.
Just go on their website. There's like, it's pretty amazing if you look. If the theory, it's again like Cardano stuff. Like the theory sounds amazing. It's just.
Yeah, so they're doing something that's not like a blockchain, but not a blockchain.
Yeah, it's not a blockchain.
I did the interview with their CEO. It's on my website. If you can look into it, he kind of answers all the questions. But the founder, Limon, is quite an impressive guy. Like, he has been building stuff since like forever, you know. So they are onto something, I think. It's just like you said,
yeah, I mean,
matrix.
I definitely don't doubt the tech, but in terms of the ROI for the investor, I didn't think was there. That's why I didn't really spend much time on it.
Yeah, crazy.
Same thing with Definity. They were raising 200 million, 150 million or more for like 4% of tokens as well. And I just thought it was a cash grab. Now, sorry, going back to your question, Encash. I think Encash, like all dApps in this market, has really been hit hard, right? I did like how initially it was stable in the bear market, but now it's just kind of dipped like everything else, right? But I think long term, who knows? I mean, I think the market is definitely adapting, and it's going to be tough to see what stays up during the next bull run, right? So, I mean, I don't really know what's going to happen after that, to be honest. Those, yeah.
All right, so yeah, I went into, I was following the Telegram group that kind of used your name, Ian Balina students, and based on that, and then I went into Go Network, and then I saw how you had mentioned that you don't want to be part of them because of a money grab and stuff like that. All I wanted to ask is that one thing is, did you meet? So they do exist, the guys, right?
Yes.
And then.
But I've not met them.
Oh, you haven't met them?
No.
Which network? GoChain.
Go Network.
Go Network.
And then what indicator makes you? Because some of us has probably ridden some coins down to the ground zero. So what indicator makes you say, wait a minute, I still believe this project's going to bounce back? Or what makes you say, listen, cut ties, this thing is scam?
Want to get out? Yeah.
Can I add on to that?
Yes.
Yeah, in terms of like, I've got a bunch of coins, so now how do we decide which ones to can, switch them for ones that are valued? Is there a nice simple way of being able to evaluate those coins? Because the time to go and investigate all the elements of it,
yeah, I think it's definitely tough, right? I think you have the science, the technical part of it, then you also have more the gut feeling, the art part of things, right? So with Go Network, right? I mean, the science initially was great because they came to me, that run the Ethereum hackathon, whatever, all-star team, good credible team. Had a few calls with them. Then I was like, okay, you know what? Makes sense, right? But what the warning sign with them that made me want to go out and stop advising them, not even take any tokens from them, was I felt like they were. I mean, back then I said weren't so forthcoming with me, but now I can say they're probably lying. All right, they probably just outright were lying to me. All right, well, sorry, allegedly lying. Right, I could say, right. I didn't feel like they were really telling me the truth it wasn't until I caught them on something that they had told me, and because they told me they weren't raising money, right? Because I told them that, hey, let's confirm the token metrics first, right? Because I want to make sure, because I was advising them, right? As an advisor, I said, okay, you guys should do X, Y, and Z, in my opinion, right? I said, all right, cool, we'll talk about this with you before we start raising money, right? But I think they didn't really know that, I guess just because of who I am, I have connections everywhere. So everything comes back to me. Right, so they were talking to some funds, right, raising money on whatever token metrics they had came up with, and the funds came back to me, said, "Hey, Ian, so you're advising Go Network? Like, what do you think about these token metrics?" I was like, "They aren't raising money." They're like, "Yeah, they just gave me a term sheet." I was like, "They did? Really?" Then I was like, "You know what? I can't trust these guys, and I can't have my name on this and have this come back and mess up my brand, right?" And that was a sign for me to get out. And to me, I mean, it was hard because I had put in some initial work, right, for like a few months, right, because there was a drawn-out delay for the token sale, because they're in Canada and they had to move to like the Cayman Islands physically to do their ICO, because in Canada you can't just have a post office box in the Cayman and do an ICO. You have to physically live there, right? So they had to like break their lease, move all their stuff there. That's why there was a delay, right? But anyway, after all that, I was like, yeah, I have to get out of this. Like, I'm fine now getting any kind of compensation or anything. My brand was more important to me than what they were doing, right? And that was because they weren't so forthcoming, right? Then sometimes it's small stuff like Air token, right? I was in that one a lot. Took a huge loss. Was holding a bag. It was down like 50, 70%. Who knows? A lot of money. And then we had that AMA with the founder on my YouTube channel, and he wasn't very well prepared. And people were joking in the comments that he was doing the AMA in a bathroom stall. And when I saw that, I was like, I can't have my money in this. I have to get out. Right? And it's not really perfect. I guess what I've learned I think it's okay to make mistakes, but you have to learn from them. Right? So with Go Network, what I learned is I can't advise any project until I've met them physically in person. Right? Because that was the project that was the first project I had met online. I mean, I met one of their ambassadors in person, and then I had video calls with the CEO. But after that, every project that I work with, I have to physically meet the CEO and just get a feel for who they are over a long period of time. Right? That's why MetaHash, we were in Russia for 3 weeks, getting to know the whole team. Right? And Resistance, I've known that. I met them in Stockholm, met them in Dubai, and Paris, and some other parts. Right? I've known them for over 5 months. So I think that in-person homework helps a lot. It gives you things that you don't really see on tokenmetrics. And I think back in the day, tokenmetrics was good for just doing the science and blindly investing. But in this year, the evolution has been, now it's not the hard truth. Now it's just more of a way to filter out the noise. All right? So just because something scores well on tokenmetrics, I still have to have that in-person research, or at minimum, when it comes to investing, calls with the founder and team, video calls, and getting to ask more questions and see if it's something I want to invest in. All right? And if it's advising, then I definitely have to meet them in person.
So you never just leave into so if you saw the danger signs in any token, for example, you'd be like, okay, let me shift this.
Yeah, I'll get out.
Yeah, okay, not just let it run and wishful thinking and hope that maybe somehow miraculously it's not a scam and these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to see what other projects I can use as an example. Is there any project in particular you're thinking of? Or?
Oh, well, going into it, basically, I'm putting one Ethereum. I doubled my Ethereum in Nebula AI, which I still love that project. I still think it's a really good project what those guys are doing. Also Canada-based, what they do in AI, work with universities in images and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then I had 2 Ethereum, and then I put 1 Ethereum in Taperium, and then 1 in Go Network. But I mean, so the Go Network one, I mean, it's worth a few cents. But I mean, I was thinking, I would rather, so you would get to a point where you say, shucks, let me just move it to one of my more preferred projects or trusted projects.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're, at least for me, if I'm already in an investment and it's not doing well, I ask myself, okay, is it doing poorly because of the market or because of the project? Yeah, okay. Right? I mean, so if the market is down, let's say at this point, 90%, and this project is down 99%, that's a pretty bad sign. All right? Or let's use a better example. Let's say the market is down 40% on average, but this project is down 80%. That means the project is horrible. The market doesn't even like it at all, right? And I think there isn't really a general rule of thumb. Like with PundiX, I was down 50% on my initial investment before it bounced back, right? And the reason I was holding on that, actually there are 2 reasons. One was I had so many tokens that I couldn't even sell without moving the market. like the daily trading volume was probably like a quarter of my holdings. So there's no way to get out. But then also, I saw that it was down, but the whole market was down, right? So, and I still believed in the project, right? So that one I was willing to kind of hodl, even though it was a forced hodl, right? And it ended up bouncing back, right? And with them, it was really just more about getting an exchange. They got the exchange, and they announced the buyback program and all kinds of other stuff, and it ended up picking back up. But with other projects, if the fundamentals that made you invest change, and you no longer believe in the project, like either they change because you feel like they may have lied to you, right, or were not as forthcoming, because more projects do that than people would believe. Right? A lot of projects will say anything when they're trying to raise funds from investors, but once they have the funds, they, stuff happens. They say stuff happens.
Yeah, because Pareto Networks, the community is basically hollow. There's no meat, there's no engagement with people. It's just this like empty, quiet room. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so with that one, I mean, I'm definitely sorry for anybody who got involved in it, right? I mean, at least for me, I try to publicly get out.
Yeah.
That was in a way kind of my sign to anybody who may have, looked into the project because of me.
Honest about that, you
Yeah.
said, listen, I'm getting out. I'm no longer taking part of a money grab.
Yeah, and I think the money grab portion of it is always a warning sign for any project, right? Same thing with Gems, right? Gems, do you guys recall Gems? Right? They're doing some kind of Amazon Turk type thing on a protocol. The model they came up with for their ICO was just so ridiculous. Like it was just a straight money grab. They try to make it a complex money grab. And to me, that was a sign that this is for sure money grab. Like it makes no sense to really be involved in this. Okay. Question in the back?
Brazil.
Okay.
They say it's the fast user coin in Brazil, and it's been embraced by most of the big corporations in.
So it's like a currency.
In Brazil, yeah. So what they're trying to do is, the reason why they think that coin is going to, the token is going to rise above waters is because of its usability. Because what they intend to do is. They intend to have a platform like Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get the coin, you can use it on Amazon.
Now, is this a project you're working with, or you're looking to invest in it?
I'm looking to invest in it.
Okay. The way I evaluate a project for me to invest in is the same way, right? Kind of like I mentioned tokenmetrics. To kind of go through that at a high level, most of you guys should know this by now. The first thing I look for is the product, technology. Right, so even if I made a project like that in person, I ask them what stage of development is the product in, right? So do you know what stage they're in? No. The reason the reason it helps to have a system. I'm sorry, excuse me. The reason it helps to have a system is because, if I had an ether for every founder who told me they had the next big company, I would have been a crypto whale. I would have been Satoshi Nakamoto himself. I met so many founders who told me, "Oh man, my project's gonna do 100x." All right, and please, Ian, invest. I don't invest. A month later, it's down 99%. Because the thing is, whether good or bad, entrepreneurs in general are optimistic people. They believe in what no one believes, right? Even to a fault, right? And if you go out there, no founder thinks their project is going to be a shitcoin, even though most of them end up being that, right? I'm not saying that is. I'm just saying that's why you have to be very, almost unemotional when evaluating a project. Even to a point that I would rather evaluate a project without even talking to the founder initially, right? Because I feel like just that human element of believing the story, feeling for them, sometimes can blind you and make you do an emotional investment over an objective, rational investment, right? So, if anything, I would probably just ask them almost like rapid fire questions, just to kind of see if it checks the boxes for me that initially filter out the noise, right? So the development of the product, right? If it's an app, is the app finished? If it's a protocol, is there a testnet or mainnet pretty soon, or is it finished? Then going through the team, is the team an all-star team, right? My criteria is 2 years or more at a publicly traded company, or 6 months or more at a top 25 market cap blockchain project, right? So they have to have minimum 2 full-time members on the team, right? Because I think that those are people who are intimately involved in a project. Now, one thing, projects nowadays will lie and tell you they have 20 people on the team, but it's just some consulting company they hired, or just some part-time contractors, right? Actually, one of the projects I had as an all-star a while back, Haven. Do you guys recall Haven? Yeah. Right? I ended up getting out of it. So we can go back to your question as well, right? The warning signs. When I saw the CEO quickly try to change the token metrics, the hard cap, to raise more money because they saw the whole Balina effect or the hype of the FOMO was there, I saw that as a warning sign, right? And I took that as a sign to get out. And that ended up being a good sign because Haven is now below ICO price. But one of the things I recall, I got into Haven because I met their CMO, their chief marketing officer. She came to my meetup like this in Sydney, right? Then told me about the project, looked more into it, ended up getting onto a call, doing my homework on it and investing, right? But anyway, even though I didn't invest, I still stayed in touch with her, right, over Telegram. Then I think a month or two into it, I reached out back to her because I was getting some complaints from the community or whatever, wanting to just, I think, either talk to the team. You know what the CMO told me? Oh, I'm not working with them anymore. I was just a contractor. And I said, then why were you the CMO? Then I was like, oh, you're just the marketing contractor for them. But they put you on a pedestal as the CMO. I mean, so a lot of projects will embellish the roles of their team, right? And I think you really, so ever since then, I always make sure whatever company I'm looking at, that I get the exact amount of people that are actually full-time with the company. Not contractors, not people that are just for hire, then end up going after the ICO's over, right? People who are going to be there still building 5 years down the road.
What about Tron?
What about Tron? I've never owned any Tron. Now, with that being said though, I did have Tron as an all-star ICO. I recall, actually I joined Binance because of Tron. Because Tron had their initial exchange offering on Binance, and that was the only way you could really get Tron, at least from America. Right? So I joined Binance because of Tron, trying to buy Tron, and it sold out in like 2 seconds. Because I recall, actually I was so pissed off at Binance because their UI at that time wasn't that good. So to buy the tokens, you had to like manually calculate the amount. Like you basically put in the amount of tokens you want to buy, the price, and the amount. So I was busy calculating on my calculator. Then I went to hit buy, it said sold out. I was like, that was 5 seconds, how's it sold out? All right, but I definitely recall I never got into it because I think it went to like, what, 240x? Something ridiculous, right? So, I mean, if I got into it, we would all be on the moon even more. But with that being said, though, I mean, I think its growth has been incredible. Now, where people do have its concerns saying that it's all hype, I will say Justin, their CEO, incredible marketer. I mean, genius. Whether you love him or hate him, no, but I mean, that's marketing. I mean, you're trying to go after Ethereum. I mean, you have to, in a way, court attention from the incumbent, right? And his crazy antics, I mean, they're genius. I mean, I haven't followed the project that intimately, but I was seeing people on Twitter saying, there's actually a meme about this. Somebody said, the meme went something like this: hey, Justin, how do you plan to compete against Ethereum? Then the answer was Kobe. So for those that don't know, Tron is having their annual conference in San Francisco, I think, and they hired Kobe Bryant as their keynote speaker. I mean, talk about a marketing stunt. And now whether the tech is going to compete with Ethereum, I doubt it. But I mean, he turned the project that's really just a regular project into a top 10 market cap project on just marketing. I mean, there are other projects that are better quality projects and have better technology that suck at marketing. I mean, if I was them, I would just either hire somebody who's like a Justin Sun to help build awareness for your project, because that's how you really get adoption. I mean, because I think this is kind of more the enterprise and business and sales guy in me, right? Although I have a tech background as a computer engineer, the reason I was a sales evangelist at IBM or sales engineer was because I understood both sides of the technology and also selling. Most engineers are great at building technology, but they can't sell their technology. They can't evangelize it, build awareness, right? So my job was to be the middle way between the engineers and the sales guys who could kind of speak both languages. And I think a lot of projects in this space could use those kind of people that can help communicate an idea to the business world, but still understand part of the technology. I think many projects out there are just a bunch of hackers that think, oh, we don't like guys in suits. But I mean, that's why Ripple's second biggest project out there, over Ethereum, because Ripple has those guys in suits that can go out there and sell the project.
Is it the Polkadot and the Cosmos trying to interlink the different blockchains? Do they? I think.
Yeah, Polkadot and Cosmos is doing that.
Yeah, what's the status on that? Is there like a way in which you can invest in that? Is that already happening? Or
Polkadot and Cosmos is already trading, or I think the ICO is over a long time ago.
oh, like
Polkadot, the ICO was, I guess, private sale was available a while back too. They aren't trading. I think they had like a 1 year lockup, something like that. Do you guys know anything about that?
they lost some money. Rather they didn't lose it, but I think it got locked up. But it's
Oh, that's right. There was some kind of either a hack or some kind of something happened.
frozen in the smart contract, I think. But I was asking, like, what's the progress with like infrastructure for that? Like, because that's pretty big, right?
The cross-chain.
Yeah, getting into.
I mean, those two projects, I haven't kept tabs on them. I know. I mean, Icon and OneChain was supposed to solve this, and Aeon, right, with the whole interoperability alliance. Then, I guess, any comment?
Was a nice idea.
Right? Yeah. I was speaking of that. That was marketing, right?
Mm.
That was Ben Cadenzi.
Yeah.
All right. Every project needs a Ben Cadenzi. Or Justin Sun.
Oh, Diamond.
Hmm?
The guy, the newer guy, also is good at marketing as well. Something.
Da Hongfei.
Da Hongfei?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess.
He was a leader figure. He was inspiring. Like when he's on stage, or when I've seen him on stage, it was early this year.
Mhm.
He kind of represented the Steve Jobs kind of character. He's like,
Yes, that's a good way of putting it, right? Every project needs a Steve Jobs and a Steve Wozniak. You can't just be Steve Wozniak, and you can't just be Steve Jobs. And I think the issue with most projects in the space, they're all Steve Wozniak. They're missing the Steve Jobs, Da Hongfei, Justin. I mean, you could say even Vitalik is a Steve Jobs type. All right. I mean, although he's technical, he's that evangelist who's out there, like a Steve Jobs.
To the crypto market itself within the, outside. Not really.
Yeah, he's not as people's. Yeah. Interesting.
Elastos. Any thoughts on Elastos?
I never got into that one. I didn't believe in that one.
And yeah, then how's your Hollywood? Because I think you were gonna work with Hollywood to do some movies and stuff. Diary of a Made Man.
It was a TV show we were trying to work on. The market happened, and it was wrong timing. We then shifted more to the live news show. So the 100X show, if you guys have seen that on the channel, that's kind of now the show we're trying to work and really trying to package that into a show that could be viewed on TV. Right, so that's what we're working on. Then I'm also going to be making a book, right, like a physical book on just my life, my story, right. So that's kind of, I guess, what I'm doing in the spare market. Yes.
And within the spare market, are you buying anything? Are you buying any coins?
No. If anything, I'm selling.
Sorry?
If anything, I've been selling. I haven't been buying. I mean, it's kind of the question or issue most people have, right? When Bitcoin is 20,000, people want to buy it when it was 3,000.
Yeah.
It goes back to 3,000, people don't buy. All right, so I haven't put any new money into crypto in a while, probably the whole year, I think. All right, because if anything, I just recycle what I already have. I take profits into fiat, or I reinvest into other ICOs. I don't really want to add new fiat into crypto, unless I have to for a particular reason. All right. Anything else, guys? It is top of the hour at 9 p.m. I want to say, guys, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Cape Town, South Africa. You guys have been amazing. And if you guys want to stick around, maybe we can go to the bar for a happy hour, grab some drinks, just have a good time, and just try to escape this bear market. What do you guys think?
Tequila.
Right? Yeah. Tequila? Okay, so let's say maybe meet at the bar for drinks in 15 minutes. We can take, if you guys want to take pictures for now, we definitely have 15 minutes to take pictures. All right? Sure. Sounds good? Yep. Thank you guys so much. And thank you to our panel. All right. Thank you, South Africa. To the moon and beyond.